Okay, welcome back to 10 Island Gaming. Today we have a 2400 point battle line battle between my Beastmen and my opponent's Empire. So these are my 2400 points. We start with the General. He's a Doom Bull with heavy armor and shield. He's also carrying Ramhorn Helm, Dawnstone, Sword of Swift Slaying, the other Trickster's Shard, and Gnarled Hide. Moving on to my Great Bray Shaman. He's a level 3 wizard with Lore of Beasts, and he's carrying the Chalice of Dark Rain. On to the hero section. Here is another Bray Shaman, level 2, also Lore of Beasts, and he's carrying the Dispel Scroll. And then I have my BSB, a Gore Bull. He has great weapon, heavy armor, and then he's also carrying Armor of Destiny, actually. And then finally, Slug Tongue. He just comes as he is, level 2 Death, with his special ability that hopefully will do something early on. On to core. I have a Gore Herd here, 17 Gores with shield. And as you can see, they have a cage of caught Empire, so I guess that's why we're in combat right now. We then have 2 units of Ungor Raiders, and they have just a musician, each of them. I then have 5 Tuskor Chariots here. And then for special, a unit of 7 Minotaurs with great weapon, and then I also have musician and a champion, and he has the blackened plate. And then finally 2 Razor Gore herds, but they're single units. For spells, Slug Tongue, he rolled up the Fate of Buna and the Caress of Lanif. And then my level 3 Great Bray Shaman has Visan's Wild Form, Savage Beast of Horus, and the Amber Spear. And then my level 2 also has Visan's Wild Form and the Curse of Anrahir. Okay, that's my 2400 points. Over to Empire.
It's my Empire army. It's led by a general. He carries the White Cloak of Ulrich, Enchanted Shield, and Sword of Might. He sits on an Imperial Griffin with Blood Roar. Then we have my Battle Wizard Lord. He has Lore of Shadow and is level 4. He carries a Dispel Scroll. Then we go over to my captain. He is the BSB. He has Charmed Shield, Iron Curse Icon, and Ogre Blade. Then we have my Master Engineer. He has nothing to him. The Warrior Priest. He has Armor of Meteoric Iron. Then we have my core, 10 archers, 10 crossbowmen, 10 handgunners, 9 knightly orders of the inner circle. Yes, they have a steel standard, and 39 swordsmen. Yes. Then we have my great cannon and another great cannon and some of 5 pistoliers. Then as rare we only have a Hellblaster. Also for core we have 18 extra swordsmen. Spells, my level 4 rolled out Mystifying Miasma, the Withering, the Enfeebling Foe, and Occam's Mindracer. Comp is 16.
Okay, so Empire won the roll-off and will start the game, but before the game starts, right after deployment, Slugtongue does his vile curse of something.
Curse of the Famine.
Curse of the Famine Fiend. And I reached a lot on his side, but it didn't turn out so well, so I killed one swordsman, but I actually got one of his great cannons too, with Slugtongue. So that was quite nice, anyways. Now on to the start of the game and Empire turn 1.
Turn 1 movement phase, so I went forward a little bit with my Pistoliers and flew my general back to my warriors here, and then I chose to not move anymore because I wanna face his chariots a bit more. Magic phase, I got on the withering on his minotaurs. Lowered his toughness by 1, and then in shooting phase I failed my cannonball. The bounce failed, and then on my crossbowman I shot on his razor gore and it didn't do anything.
Beastmen turn 1, movement phase. I just moved everything as far forward as I could. I don't want any more cannon shots or anything. I feel like I have to get into close combat. I moved Slugtongue to the side so he can join this unit of Gores in the next turn. And then my Razor Gores are up here. Okay, on to Winds of Magic and shooting. Beastmen turn 1, Winds of Magic and shooting. I had a strong magic phase, 10 die. First I tried to cast Caress of Lanif on his level 4 wizard here. He dispelled it with his dice, and then I got off, first of all, Ember Spear onto his knight unit there, killed 2 of them. And then I also got off the Curse of Andrahir on the same unit, so they have to take dangerous terrain if they move. For shooting, nothing happened. On to Empire turn 2.
I moved out my Pistoliers up here to come behind enemy lines, and then I only backed this unit so to be out of his charge with his chariots. That was it of movement phase. So starting with magic phase, I rolled up 4 die and started with the enfeebling foe on these ugly guys and lower their strength with 1. And try to cast Miasma on this guy here, but he dispelled it. And going on to shooting phase, my Pistoliers killed 4 of his Angorators. Then my crossbowman tried to kill this Razor Gore, but only did 1 wound. Then over here, my cannon shot on his Minotaurs and killed 2 of them. Then my gunners and archers tried to do something about this ugly chariot and did nothing.
Beastmen turn 2, movement phase. 2 Razor Gores charged into the crossbowman unit here. He did a stand and shoot reaction and made 1 wound on the left Razor Gore. Then I had another charge here into the knights with 1 chariot. This chariot failed the same charge, and then this chariot failed a charge on the archers and suffered 1 wound for it from the stand and shoot reaction. I didn't manage to rally this guy. I never will, but these guys are back in the game. And then I marched up the Minotaurs, moved the chariots forward, moved the Gore unit up, and popped Slugtongue back into the unit. On to Winds of Magic and shooting. Okay, Beastmen turn 2, Winds of Magic. I had a strong Winds of Magic again, 12. First I tried to cast Vissans on the Minotaurs. He dispelled it with his dice. Then I cast Vissans again with my level 2, and that one got in. I then used a few dice, 3 or 4, to try Caress of Lanif on his wizard again, but he dispelled that using his Dispel Scroll. And then for my 2 remaining, I tried to remove the withering, but I failed. And since we don't have any shooting, we move on to close combat. Close combat. The chariot killed 1 knight with the impact hits, got 1 wound in return. So I lost combat by 1 because of his banners, but I stayed put thanks to my BSB here. And then over here, the Razor Gores killed the crossbowmen. 1 overran when they fled and caught them. The other one actually managed to stay and turned up to face his unit with the wizard here. On to Empire turn 3.
Movement phase for Empire turn 3. These guys failed their charge into that chariot, but my general first charged his chariot over here and caused him to flee and redirected into this one instead. And my pistoliers just moved in to take down that chariot, perhaps. That's end of movement phase, yes. So shooting phase Empire, my pistoliers did 1 wound on his fleeing chariot. My headblaster did 5 wounds on his minotaurs, killed 1.5. My cannon killed his chariot, and my pistoliers did nothing on his chariot, but my archer did 1 wound. Big phase, I failed to cast my first spell, so my wizard got tired. But my warrior priest did his battle prayer to reroll to wound. Yes, and his minotaur, he dispelled both toughness and attack or something. Yeah.
Strength. Yeah.
Phase, my general killed his chariot by chasing him down. And here my knight did 3 wounds on his chariot, but his chariot killed 1 of my knights. Over to Beastmen turn 3.
Beastmen turn 3, movement phase. I charged into the flank there of his wizard unit and just moved the other one up. And then I charged with my minotaurs in here. I needed 4 on 2 dice. I rolled double ones, so they just stumbled forward. That might have cost me the game because he will get another round of Hellblaster in here now. Then my other chariot actually got into his archers there. Yeah, my chariot kept fleeing down here. My little Ungor Raider kept fleeing there. And these guys moved up or down here. On to Winds of Magic and shooting. Winds of Magic, I got 5 dice. And then I tried to cast Amber Spear on his Hellblaster, but I failed to cast it. So yeah, on to close combat. Close combat phase, we can start down here. Everything went to shit anyways, so it doesn't matter where we start. The Razor Gore killed 2, but received 1 wound back, and then therefore lost the combat because of rank bonus and banner. And then Musician was the tip of the iceberg that made him flee and was overran. Here, he didn't do a single wound with his BSP or the knights, but the lone horse killed him off at the end. And then here I killed 5, but because I reduced the unit size so much, so now the majority of the unit is in the forest, and therefore they're stubborn and steadfast because they're skirmishers. So they stood, so I couldn't overrun into the cannon. Otherwise it was a great turn. On to Empire turn 4.
Movement phase for Empire turn 4. This was my only charge, my gunners into his chariot. Then I moved up my general up here, and my pistoliers went for his chariot, and I swiftly formed my warriors up here. Yes, and I backed up my other warrior unit so he can't charge my Hellblaster with his Razor Gore. Phase, I got off the enfeebling foe on his minotaurs, lowered his strength by 2, and the withering lowered his toughness by 1. And then in the shooting phase, my Hellblaster did nothing. on his Minotaurs, but the cannon killed 2 of his Minotaurs, and then my Outriders, Pistoliers killed his chariots. Over to close combat. So it was a very poor combat here, with no wounds on his chariot, but he did 2 wounds on my guys, 1 Pistolier and 1 Archer. Over to Beastmen turn 4.
Beastmen turn 4, movement phase. I charged my Razor Gore into the flank of his wizard unit here. I charged my Minotaurs. I had to get them into combat. I was debating whether to go for the clear charge here or into his swordsman, but it was a bit long and I didn't want to risk it again. Hopefully I can get an overrun into his engineer at least to keep me in combat and protected from the Hellblaster. I then moved up my Gore unit to protect from a flank charge from the general, and then the Ungor are just here. Yeah, gonna fire at the Outriders or the Pistoliers. On to Winds of Magic and shooting. For Winds of Magic, I cast everything I got onto his general. First, I did Caress of the Nif. I did 3 wounds.
Saved 1.
And yeah, 3 wounds, and he saved 1, so it survived. And then I did Amber Spear on him as well, but because of randomize, it hit the Griffin and did 3 wounds to the Griffin. And then I did Caress of, or Fate of Buna on the general as well. I managed to, after deducting toughness, etc., have 3 hits that would wound on a 2 or more, and I rolled 2 ones, so that was 1 wound, and he saved it with his ward save. That was it. On to close combat. Close combat. Here I managed to lose this combat, but I was still steadfast, so I managed to stay, but I lost Frenzy. Here my Razor Gore lost combat as well, fled off the table. And then here my chariot killed off 3 guys but didn't get a wound back, so yeah, I won that one. The archers fled, the handgunners were steadfast, so they stayed on leadership 7. On to Empire turn 5.
So, movement phase for Empire. I charged in with my big unit of swordsmen. I moved up my little unit of swordsmen. I moved my Pistoliers just to slay his tiny, whatever they call it.
Raiders.
And my general moved behind his enemy lines. Over to Winds of Magic and shooting. I rolled 6 dice for my magic phase, and I cast them all on Occam's Razor. He used his Dispel Scroll. He used his remaining dice to remove my their enfeebling foes on his Minotaurs. Yes, and for shooting, my Pistoliers killed 2 of his
Ungor
Raiders, so 1 is remaining and 3. On to close combat. Close combat phase in for Empire. My handgunners killed his last wound on his chariot, and my knights here did 1 wound and got 1 wound back. And in this big fight, 6 of my warriors died, and 5 died from his goatman, and 1 point got left on his slug tank. Over to Beastmen turn 5.
Beastmen turn 5, movement and magic. I just failed to rally my lone Ungor Raiders. For magic, I got off 1 Misson's Wild Form on the Gore unit here. That was the only one. The rest was dispelled. On to close combat. End of Beastmen turn 5. I finally killed his knight unit and turned up. I'm gonna get hammered by the Hell Cannon now, or Hellblaster. And then I killed his BSB in that unit as well. Here I won combat, but he managed to do 1 wound here in the back, which meant he was steadfast and managed his leadership. on to Empire turn 6.
In movement phase for Empire, turn 6 I did nothing. No charges either. For Magic phase, I got in Occam's Razor, Mind Razor, due to double 6s. So
Miscast.
it got miscast, and my mage, a wizard, and all his units almost died, but he and 3 others survived. I did some wounds with my Hellblazer on his Minotaurs. No one got under half their points, so no points in there. And my cannon missed, and my handgunners one hit, but he saved it. Over to close combat. My warriors won the battle, but lost 6 guys. They made them flee, and they caught them in the spot. So over to Beastmen turn 6.
Beastmen turn 6, but I just ended the game. I did not want to charge in with my Minotaurs into the unit there with Occam's Mind Razor, because I had 1 wound left on the unit and my characters were still over half wounds, so I would have lost more than I could gain if I charged in, so we just ended the game. I did nothing on turn 6. When we calculated the points, it was a victory to Empire after deducting the comp difference, etc. of 460 points. I think that's a super minor victory. It's a victory in somehow. I don't know what to say about this game. I think the failed charge with the Minotaurs into the Knights was a big issue. Otherwise it was not too much that were out of the ordinary. That charge changed the game a lot. The shooting was pretty good from Empire. I mean, he didn't get a misfire ever. And of course the combat down here where his archers became steadfast because I killed just the right amount. 1 more or 1 less and they would have fled and I would have gone into his cannon. But yeah, it was a fun game, and it was the first time we had our new Empire player on the channel. He's not welcome again. Hope to see you guys next time.